Today we are answering the question, is humanity actually a mistake? What if the biggest mistake that evolution ever made was us, human beings? Is the next extinction event actually about to take place? And we're also going to be answering the question, is it wrong to procreate in a world that seems like that it's on the brink of destruction? Now, it's very important to understand what's going on right now, because we need to become aware of the process that is occurring, because there is a process occurring right now that will potentially lead to our destruction and annihilation, or lead us to the beginning of a new earth. And this process that is occurring, we are part of this process. It's not a process that we are outside of and observing. We are participants in it, and we need to become conscious of this process so that we can alter the process. Because I'm telling you right now, where this ends up is up to us, which means it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to all of us working together. So this is a really important video to watch, because this has to do with every single one of our fates intertwined together, and how we can work together to move it in a direction where we create the new earth. It's really important. That's what being Neogenian is all about, creating the new beginning. So we're going to be answering the question, is humanity a mistake, and is the end coming? Before we get started, as always, please like and subscribe, because you know why I always say it. It helps people see these videos and it gets this information across. And the whole point is to raise consciousness and expose people to information that they haven't been exposed to before. So just take a second to hit like, please, pretty please. It helps a lot, helps spread this information, like I said. Also, if you enjoy my work and you want to help me create bigger and better content and more videos and better content, then support over on patreon.com. It's patreon.com/MorgueOfficial. Helps out a lot. It's the best way to support my channel, and you'll get access to all of our members only videos. There's a lot of them, and there's a new one every single week. So you can support at any tier on Patreon, or tier 2 or higher, by hitting the join button right below this video. A few announcements. I've made this a few times, but I want to continue to announce it, that I will be releasing a book series this year laying out the details of the Neogenian system. So keep an eye out for that. I'm very excited about it. And also, I am on Spotify now. You can find these long form videos on Spotify. Look up Dawn of the New Earth. So if you have a Spotify account, look up Dawn of the New Earth. You'll follow me there. You'll find me there. Please give me a follow, and you'll be able to find this content, which is sometimes easier to listen to, and they have video content now, so you can watch them there as well. All right. Oh yeah, a few things as always. Remember, there's scammers in the comments, people pretending to be me. That's not me. Don't fall for it. And there are people in groups out there who don't like me, don't like what we're doing. They spread a lot of disinformation, misinformation. So just don't fall for the BS. Use your logic and reason. All right, here we go, my friends. Now, is humanity a mistake? Now, we find ourselves in a position where it seems like humanity is doing great harm to itself and to the earth. It has created weapons of mass destruction capable of ending civilization, modern civilization, and potentially all human life. So what's going on here? Is humanity a mistake? Is humanity something that evolution generated that will simply end itself? Is it an evolutionary, are we an evolutionary dead end? And the answer to this question depends on the decisions that we are about to make. Right here, right now, at this moment in history. This is one of the most exciting times to be alive, because we are on the brink of a transition to a new consciousness, a new world, potentially. We have different paths that we can take, and we want to make sure, like I said, we need to be conscious of the process so that we can alter the process. And we're also going to be taking a look at the idea, like I said, there are a lot of people out there who believe that procreating is wrong. And so we're going to be answering that question as well. And this ties a lot, it reminds me a lot of Gnosticism. So we talk about Gnosticism a lot on my channel. Gnosticism is the idea that the material world is a prison, that the human body is a prison for the soul. And so the Gnostics believed, at least some of them, like the Sethian Gnostics, that it was wrong to have kids, because if you had kids, you were just trapping new souls into the material realm. And there's a very similar sort of sentiment going around these days, not about trapping souls, but rather that the material world or earth is a terrible place, and to bring children into this world is immoral. So we're going to be answering that question. Is humanity actually a mistake? is it immoral to have children? So what I want to take a look at is this article right here over on Psychology Today. And so this article on Psychology Today by Darcia. I want to read this quote to you. It says, a human dominant culture in recent centuries has been behaving unlike any other animal on the planet, destructive of virtually all other species and each other. No other animal routinely destroys conspecifics, that is, members of the same species, except under extreme stress. So what was her name? Darcia? Is that right? What Darcia is highlighting here is that humanity is unlike any other species on the planet. How is it unlike any other species on the planet? Is that it routinely destroys members of its own species. Humanity routinely destroys itself. And as Darcia points out, no other species will do this unless put under extreme stress. And so why does this occur? And she says, some people explain human selfishness, aggressiveness, and destructiveness by pointing to genes or a type of original sin or an inbred evilness. This we know is untrue. So why does this occur? Why do humans destroy each other? Why is there so much hatred and division in the world that is leading to our downfall? Why does this occur? Like Darcia says, some people say, oh, it's selfishness and aggressiveness and destructiveness, or it has to do with genes, or it's an original sin. I remember I grew up in a strict Christian household. I was a Christian when I was young. And so that's what I was taught. I was taught that the evil in the world can be traced all the way back to Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge. That brought sin into the world, and now humans just like to screw each other over because of that. Of course, that's ridiculous. But does it have to do with genes? What's going on here? Why is the human species so different? Why is the human species so different from any other species? Well, there's a few different reasons, and we're going to be taking a look at those. But the critical thing to understand, and that most people miss, is that what this has to do with is consciousness. And this is why it's so important to understand that a new world must be founded on a new consciousness. So many people are trying to make changes in so many different ways, and a lot of them are very commendable. And I admire a lot of changes that people are trying to make. But ultimately, it's imperative to understand that true, sustainable, lasting change that will utterly transform the world will only come from a new consciousness. That is a precondition for the new earth. It is a requirement. It cannot happen without it. Just like, a group of, like a pack of animals can't suddenly create governments. It requires a new level of consciousness. Well, humanity at the stage that it is right now cannot create a united planetary civilization. It must reach the next level of consciousness. So why do humans behave this way? Well, it stems from our development of self-awareness. We developed self-awareness, and that is unique to us from the animal kingdom. There are some animals that do exhibit certain levels of self-awareness, but when it comes to human beings, we exhibit a much more refined, a much more developed, a much more intricate and complex sense of self-awareness. This allows us to plan for the future. It allows us to reflect on memories at will. It allows us to project ourselves into potential scenarios. It allows us to do so many different things. But one of the things that it does is that it separates ourselves. We realize that, oh, I am an I, which is different from you. And self-awareness, self-consciousness usually leads to violence and division and hatred, because it's about separation. I am me, not you. This is where the inherent division occurs. The division between subject and object, that divide occurs. And so now we look at others as a threat. Those who are similar to us, we group together in groups and packs and tribes or whatever. And we see those who are different and other and foreign as a potential threat. Oh, they threaten my being. And so either we want to, this leads to humans attacking each other, creating nations, conflicting over, my country, my nation, my religion, my culture versus the infidel or the heretic or the you know, whatever, the foreigner, the alien, the other, anything that is different is looked at as a potential threat. And so our self-awareness allowed us to flourish, but it also created all the division. You look at a map of the world and see all the different borders that separate all the different nations. And there's nothing wrong with creating borders and nations and, you know, different aspects of the world. That's fine. But when it becomes negative is when nations see other nations as threats to each other and then go to war with each other, which is, of course, what everyone does today because they have not reached the next level of awareness yet. And so what we need to do is bring humanity from self-awareness to all awareness. Where self-awareness is about the subject-object split, all awareness is about the unification of subject and object, realizing that subject and object are the same, unifying subject and object, realizing that we're all in this together. We all form an interconnected system as eternal minds, as eternal souls. Every single one of us is a node in the absolute network mind, which is what we are, the absolute network, the zeta configuration, that is what we are. And by understanding this and realizing this is what will allow us to overcome the divide that was created by self-awareness. We will still retain our self-awareness, but realize that we are all interconnected into a system. It's kind of like imagine a puzzle. Imagine a puzzle. Before self-awareness arose, it was just one puzzle. And then when self-awareness occurred, imagine that the pieces realized, oh, hey, I'm a piece. I'm an individual. Each one of the little pieces realized, oh, I'm an individual piece. So all the pieces have self-awareness now. They realize that they're individual pieces. They're different. I'm different from that piece. You're different from that piece, blah, 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 blah. But they don't realize that they're part of an interconnected picture. That's the problem, is that self-awareness has a very small field of awareness, and it is focused on the linear left brain hemispheric functions of consciousness that split things up, divide things, put things in boxes, and categorize things, and which is different from the right brain hemispheric associated functions, which sees things as wholes, big pictures, interconnected systems, meaning, purpose, etc. So self-awareness is like realizing, oh, I'm an individual puzzle piece, but not realizing there's a big picture. What all awareness is realizing I'm an individual puzzle piece, but I am also part of a big picture that we are all part of and that we are all interconnected in and all affect each other. So it's about seeing the big picture, seeing the unity, seeing the wholeness, which humanity completely lacks right now. This is why we have so much division and hatred. There's no sight of the big picture. So there's this other article also on Psychology Today by Douglas Fields. And so Douglas said, a new study of 1,024 mammal species has determined which animals are the most vicious killers of their own kind. Killer whales, perhaps? Pit bulls, maybe? For the answer, just look in the mirror. Now, honestly, that's probably not very surprising. And by the way, there's a lot of words in here that YouTube does not like, so I will be saying unalive so that the algorithm doesn't freak out. So bear with me on that. So Douglas says, step back and view our species objectively from the outside, the way a zoologist would carefully observe any other animal, or see us the way every other creature perceives human beings. The brutal reality could not be more evident or more horrifying. We are the most relentless yet oblivious unalivers on Earth. Our violence operates far outside the bounds of any other species. Human beings unalive anything. Slaughter is a defining behavior of our species. We unalive all other creatures, and we unalive our own. Read today's paper, read yesterday's, or read tomorrow's. The enormous industry of print and broadcast journalism serves predominantly to document our unaliving. So, and I think that is extremely apparent in the state of the world right now. there is horrific atrocities occurring every moment of every day, beyond words, beyond imagination. And it's the product of human beings' unfortunate, innate desire for preserving one's own being at the expense of the other. You see, it's a complete opposite of the idea of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Self-awareness does not entail that. That's a foreign concept to self-awareness. To self-awareness, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Why? Why should I? Why should I be nice to that person? What's in it for me? But all awareness transcends this idea. Self-awareness is about preserving one's own being at the expense of another's being. And all awareness is realizing that we are all interconnected beings and form an interconnected system, just like each cell forms a body or each limb forms a body. We are interconnected and all part of the same system. And one part of the system being unhealthy is going to affect the entirety of the system. So this goes on for a while, just talking about how horrific human beings are, basically. And I don't really need to read it. They just, Douglas continues talking about all the atrocities that human beings commit, that they unalive themselves, and on and on and on. I think you can get the idea, and you can just look at the news to realize how horrible human beings are. So, like I said, the question is, are human beings a mistake? Well, what it comes down to is not so much are human beings a mistake, it's what choice is humanity going to make? Because humanity has a choice right now. And so there's a couple different outcomes that can occur from the choice that humanity has right now. And it's up to us to decide which outcome that is going to be. So, for example, like I said, I think in the title of this, I said that the end is coming, and the end is coming. Either it's going to be the end and collapse of modern society in self-destruction, or a slave framework will emerge where the world is dominated by a global elite that keeps the many in subservience, or the end of the old world and the end of the old consciousness will occur, and we will create a new earth and a new consciousness. So it's up to us. We need to be aware of this process so we can make the choice. And remember, I always want to be very, very clear. This is not something that we are observing. This is not something that is happening outside of us that we are watching. It is a process that we are a part of. We are all part of the body. And when one part of the body is being injured, that's you also being injured, because we are the body. And this process that is occurring right now is part of what we are. We are contributing and co-creating this process. So it's very important to be conscious of this so that we can alter it and so that we can change it. This is what starting to reach a higher consciousness is all about. This is a really important part called metacognition, which is thought that thinks about itself, thinking about thought. Instead of just thinking about things, you think about the things that you're thinking about. And what this has to do with what we're talking about today is pulling, rather than just being involved in the process, but totally oblivious to it and just going about your daily life and being like, oh, well, I hope things work out. It's about realizing that this process is one that we are all a part of and contributing to. And when we realize it, then we can take steps to alter it and transform it and change it. That's exactly why I create videos like this, and I write the books that I do, and I create the content that I do. It's not just like, ooh, interesting entertainment. No, it's about altering the trajectory of the world, altering ultimately the trajectory of the universe. And every single one of you has the power to do that. You can alter the trajectory of the world and the universe. You have the potential to be a reality shaper. You have the potential to shape this process. And when we all come together and combine our collective energies and our collective powers to do this, that is how we are able to create a new earth. That's why I say, the second coming of Christ isn't Jesus coming down from the clouds and judging everyone and throwing people into hell. No, the second coming of Christ is a new consciousness. It is us. It is us helping the world and helping ourselves reach a new level of consciousness so we can create the kingdom of heaven here on earth. The kingdom of heaven is within you and all around you. It's not somewhere you go to when you die. It's a state of mind and a state of being that we can actualize and create, because we are the gods of this world. We just have to step into our power and realize that. So first step is to become aware of the process. And so Douglas continues by saying, let's see. Douglas wants to comment on why this occurs. So Douglas says, in part, the reason for this rampant unaliving appears to relate to our big brains and the conscious awareness and conniving that big brain power makes possible, but primarily because of two other aspects of Homo sapiens and other primates: fierce territoriality and living in social groups. Okay, so what I want you to see here is that Douglas is going to give what he thinks is the reason why humans destroy themselves and destroy other members of their own species. He's going to give a reason why. And I want you to see how it is coming close to the truth of the reality, that it has to do with a level of consciousness. And you can see that he's getting close to this idea by saying that it relates to our conscious awareness as well as territoriality and living in social groups. So you can, this is all correct. It has to do with our level of awareness, being that, oh, I am an I am a me, I am an individual, I am a not you. I can now plan for the future. I can make plans. And then territoriality. These are my things, not your things. These belong to me. This is, and I'm going to unalive anyone who threatens that. So it's this idea of territoriality and seeing others as a potential threat to one's own being, because others have proven to be threats to one's being, because human beings are at that level of consciousness that divides things up, puts things into boxes, separates things. So Douglas continues by saying, across all mammalian species, conspecific deadly violence is highly correlated with these two factors. Conspecific deadly violence refers to destroying members of one's own species. A double hit of both factors compounds the violence. So whales and bats are highly social, but they're not territorial. For example, and so they have very low rates of unaliving their own kind. Human beings are highly social, but extremely territorial. Quote, trespassers will be shot. Quote, he cut into my lane. So you see, we are social beings. We interact with members of our own species, and we're also highly territorial. Oh, you cut into my lane. I have to get to work on time. My time is more important than your time, etc. So this selfishness is a product of our self-awareness that has allowed this particular avatar to adapt and survive. So self-awareness is important. It has allowed us to adapt and survive. But now we're at that critical point where either we will lead to complete and total collapse of civilization as we know it and possible extinction, or developing into a slave framework where the world is dominated by a global elite, or blossoming into a new consciousness. That is the next step in evolution that we want to push humanity towards. That is the new earth that we want to create through our collective will. And we can do that, but it takes a level of cooperation and understanding. We have to understand exactly what we're doing from a level of a higher consciousness, from all awareness. Because remember, simple self-awareness, this isn't going to work. Simple self-awareness doesn't understand how that's even possible. What do you mean that we're all connected? What do you mean created a united earth? What do you, no, I care about my things and my, no, it's a very strange and foreign concept for why should I be nice to that person? What am I going to get out of it? Well, what you get out of it is that that's just another aspect of you. That's the whole point, is that we're all reflections of each other. We're all different perspectives of the absolute. So having that awareness, again, it's like the puzzle pieces that realize, oh, I'm an individual piece, but we also form a singular picture. And if we're all working together, we can create a beautiful picture. But if we're all moving around and just going our own separate ways, the picture's not going to make any sense. It's going to be a bunch of chaos. It's going to be incomprehensible. And so that is what reality is. The minds of the earth are trying to organize itself into a network. The puzzle pieces are trying to organize itself into a way where a big picture can be seen. And that is what is attempting to occur right now. And that's the level that we need to be at to approach the creation of the new earth. So that's really important. That's really important to understand. Some people want to know, oh, where do I begin? Well, one way to really help is to work on yourself, because it requires a level of understanding of what we are, where we are, and why we are here. So there's nothing, or some people are like, oh, well, I don't really know what to do. And there's nothing wrong with taking time to work and develop yourself, because you're going to be so much more powerful when you come to a full understanding of what you are, where you are, and why you are here. So Douglas continues by saying, when researchers examined how different types of social groups of humans affect the rate of unaliving, they found that lethal unaliving was common in present-day societies or organized into bands or tribes, right? So let's just say that again. They found that unaliving was common in present-day societies organized into bands or tribes. You see, collections of human beings that have grouped together who are similar, and then views every other group that is dissimilar as a threat. We need to transcend this ridiculous mindset. That's a survival mindset. We don't need to be in a survival mindset. We need to transcend that mindset and not see, oh, other is a threat. See that other is an opportunity for growth and learning. Other is an opportunity for growth and learning. You see the difference is, what do you do when you approach a mirror? When you look into a mirror, do you go, who is that motherfucker? And then like attack the mirror? No, you don't. When you look at the mirror, it allows you to see yourself from another perspective. And you can learn from that. You look in the mirror, you learn, you can, see yourself better and, adjust the clothes you're wearing. It allows you to see yourself from another perspective, and allows you to improve in some way. That's why when we approach others and other groups, it's not about going, oh, they're a threat, they're an enemy because they're so different, they're so weird. No, they are another aspect of our absolute self, and are an opportunity for learning, growth, and collaboration. Now, of course, that's very difficult in today's world, because all awareness is not very widespread. It's spreading fairly fast. We want to increase the rate of which it is spreading, but there are some individuals who are coming into an early stage of all awareness out there. It's starting to happen, but for the most part, most people are self-aware. So yeah, of course, you got to be careful, because people who are self-aware might be seeing you as a threat, and thus, we don't live in a world where we can just all be in a collaborative mindset. That's the world that we want to create, though. We want to create a world where we see others not as threats, but as opportunities for us to see ourselves and each other from a new perspective. So we still, we got to be careful. But basically what I'm saying, be careful. There's a lot of evil people out there. But ideally, we want to create a world where we are at that level of consciousness. And people always think like, and here's what I'm trying to get across. People always tend to think things like, oh, that's such a pipe dream. That's utopian thinking. People aren't going to act like that. People are just out for themselves. I can't imagine a world like that. Okay. Well, first of all, if you think that it can't happen, it won't happen. Because if you think something can't happen, you're never going to try to make it happen. You have to understand that it is possible and it can happen. That way we will create it. If we collectively know that it can happen, we will collectively take steps to make it happen. If we collectively go, oh, that can never happen, of course it's not going to happen. So first of all, we have to change the mindset. But to really understand why this will occur in such a way where it will actually work is because when you reach a level of all awareness and humanity reaches all awareness, it becomes obvious. So in the same way that human beings become self-aware and it's like obvious that, oh yeah, I'm a me. I'm me and not you. Well, that's obvious, right? In the same way, when individuals reach all awareness, they realize, oh wow, we're all interconnected. And so from that mindset, the idea of seeing others as threats just because they're different vanishes. Because you realize it's just another aspect of ourself. So just as self-awareness comes with selfishness, all awareness comes with interconnection. And it's something that becomes obvious. It's not this thing that, you know, people have to do because of threat of punishment or breaking the law or something. You know, that's why a lot of people today are only act in moral and ethical ways because they're afraid of being punished. Now, I'm not saying everyone does, but for the most part, or not even for the most part, but to a large degree, the threat of punishment is a large reason why human beings don't unalive each other even more, even though they unalive each other quite a lot. I'll never forget. So I was having, I think I told this story before, but I was at my doctor's office having a checkup. And I can't remember exactly. I was wearing a Hegel shirt. Hegel's my favorite philosopher. And you go, oh, who's that on your shirt? And I go, oh, it's Hegel. He's my favorite philosopher. And somehow my doctor talks a lot. Somehow he started talking about just like, I don't know, morals or something. And he said I'm paraphrasing, but it was pretty bad. He said something along the lines of, if there's no God, what's to stop me from taking a gun out and unaliving you right now? You know, because like there would be no consequence, right? If there is no God to please and hell to avoid, what's to stop me from taking a gun out and unaliving you, right? And first of all, I think I need a new doctor. But second of all, you can see where that's coming from a level of consciousness that is only self-aware, because an all-aware consciousness will clearly understand, despite there not being a creator God or the threat of eternal punishment, why one should not unalive another human being. Because we're all reflections of each other. And so it is going to damage ourselves to do so. It's just as bad as taking a hammer and smashing your own hand with the hammer. You're not going to do that because you know it's damaging yourself. So I think that this illustrates very clearly why. See, so many people have this mindset. And this illustrates why we require a new consciousness for a new earth. I'm going to say it over and over and over again because it's so critical and so many people miss it. Even Micah White, co-founder of the Occupy Wall Street movement, wrote a book called The End of Protest. I highly recommend it. Go read it. I don't agree with everything in it, but there are some really good ideas in there, and I like it a lot. And his idea is that, you know, Occupy Wall Street, that failed, and his idea now, having experienced all that, is that the only way for there to be global transformation is for a revolution of consciousness. And that's absolutely right. And that is fundamental to understand. It's fundamental to understand. So let's see. So they're saying, Douglas here is saying researchers found that unaliving was common when it comes to organized societal groups into bands or tribes. Like I said, you have groups seeing each other as threats. And severe violence is frequent in chiefdoms because of territorial disputes, population and resource pressures, and competition for political reasons. But unaliving decreased in state-run societies. Presumably, the author concludes this is because of socio-political organizations of population into state-run societies that are designed to suppress violence and respond to it, act to inhibit the innate genetically predisposed propensity of people to unalive each other. And Douglas says, consider, for example, if there were no police to call, what would you have to do? And this goes, case in point, that's just the same mindset that my doctor kind of had. They're basically saying that violence and unaliving is a lot less prevalent when there are laws and regulations to suppress humanity's innate predisposition to unalive each other. And they say innate, the genetically predisposed propensity of people to unalive each other. Now, this is much more, they're, I think, emphasizing the genetic aspect of this, and genetics does come into play. Things like that does affect how we behave. But more importantly, it's to understand that it's all about level of consciousness. It's ultimately our avatars, our vehicles that allow us to express ourselves in certain ways, but we ultimately are minds. And so, yeah, different kinds of hormones might make us more aggressive or something like that. Absolutely. But when it comes down to it, it's about the level of consciousness. And that's really what matters. And this is an interesting idea that Douglas points out here. Douglas says that males are inherently violent and they are responsible for the vast majority of violent unaliving. This is a relic of the traditional male role in defending territory and social organization that our human and non-human mammalian ancestors practiced. Okay, so yeah. So this Douglas individual has a lot, is a lot more about genetics and things like that, which I like I said, I do believe that stuff plays a role, but you can see here where he says males are inherently violent and they are responsible for the vast majority of violent unaliving. Now, I think that is a very big stereotype to say that males are inherently violent. I wouldn't say that males are inherently violent. I would say that in the society and the culture that has developed in our world, males tend to be more apt to unalive each other. And I do agree with this point that Douglas says, where he says this is a relic of the traditional male role in defending territory and social organization that our human and non-human mammalian ancestors practiced. So again, saying that it's a leftover of certain roles. But this is important to understand, that in reaching a new earth and a new world, we do have to realize that has been culturally ingrained. It has been culturally ingrained, and that's something that we need to recognize and address. A lot of the, violence and unaliving and territorial disputes and the desire for power and conquering others in the society and culture that we have today tends to be male dominated. And we need to change that. We need to teach healthy ways of expressing one's masculinity, healthy and positive ways where we are helping each other grow and learn and be the best versions of themselves, how to conquer ourselves, gain power for creating a new and better world instead of trying to conquer other people and gain territory and gain resources and gain, at the expense of others, right? That is always the key. When it's at the expense of others, that's when it becomes an issue. But we need to change that and shift it when it's about learning and teaching, helping others grow, having mastery over oneself, using one's power to help create a better environment, create a better world. So we need to tear down this culturally ingrained idea of aggression. So Douglas continues by saying, violence is in our genes and in our environment, but so too are territoriality and society. These things will not change. Genes change at a glacial pace, but territory and society shift constantly, and they are molded by man. There is hope through understanding the science of human violence, as we can see. Some men do deliberate and decide to forfeit their life, if necessary, to rush into a war zone wearing white helmets to dig a broken child out of rubble. So basically here, unfortunately, Douglas is not really offering a solution. Douglas is saying violence is in our genes and in our environment, but so too are territoriality and society. These things we will not change, and genes change at a glacial pace. Now, he's saying that there's hope through understanding the science of human violence. And I'm not exactly sure, this whole article is talking about how humans unalive each other and why they unalive each other. And as a solution, there's just that single sentence. There is hope through understanding the science of human violence. As we can see, the sentence doesn't even make complete sense. Basically saying, by understanding it, maybe there's hope. So he's absolutely right by saying that genes change at a glacial pace. But thankfully, it's not just about our genes, it's about our consciousness. And consciousness can change at a very rapid pace. That's why the next step in our evolution is not a physical step in evolution, it's an evolution of the mind, an evolution of consciousness. And we are becoming aware. Look at all the advancements that we have created. Look at all the technology that we have created. Look at how fast we have created technology compared to how bodies have evolved and how long it takes bodies to evolve. Why? Because technology is the evolution of reality directed by consciousness. Technology is an extension of evolution, an extension of our creative abilities through our conscious awareness. We are now consciously taking over the creative process. Now we need to become conscious of that consciousness. We need to go up a level through metacognition. We need to go up a level. This is how reaching a higher consciousness is about. And by becoming explicitly aware that we are the conscious force of evolution directing itself. We need to become consciously aware of that. When we consciously become aware that we are the force of evolution, consciously self-directing itself, then we can direct ourselves into a way and a world that benefits everyone. It's about maximizing the quality of life for all. So, Douglas is right that the avatar changes at a glacial pace. But fortunately, that's not what's going to fix things. What's going to fix things is our evolution in consciousness that we can have happen extremely rapidly. The evolution of the mind can occur at an exponential rate. And we are harnessing the power of this. And humanity has done so on a level where they're not even conscious of what they're doing. But when we become conscious of the fact that this is what we're doing, we can alter the process itself because we realize that we are the process and we can direct it. And that's what's key. That's what's critical. This is not, some abstract idea or philosophical theory that we sit in our chairs and think about. This is happening right now, and we have the power to make it happen. It's just up to you. It's up to me. It's up to us to do that. So real quick, what I also want to talk about, though, is the idea of anti-natalism. And so the anti-natalism is basically the idea that bringing children into the world is immoral. And the reason why some people think that it's immoral has to do with a number of different reasons. Some people think that it's immoral because the world is just a terrible place. So you're having a child enter into a world of suffering. And other people think that human beings are just a mistake and that we should not procreate so that we can end the species. And of course, this is not a good idea. This comes from a misunderstanding of what reality is and what existence is. This comes from a very atheistic sort of mindset that just sees reality like a material machine. But it is rooted in Gnosticism as well. Gnosticism had this idea, and that's of course not atheistic, but Gnosticism had it had a very similar negative view of the world, seeing the world as a tortuous place, and that one was just subjecting minds to that discomfort and the pain that comes with the material world. But what we know is that we are here to transform the world. That's the whole point. We are here to change the world and transform the world. We're not just random accidents. And so that's usually what anti-natalism usually comes from, a atheistic materialist mindset, which is like, oh, well, we're just random accidents and the world's really horrible and we're screwing everything up. So let's end humanity, or at least not bring more children into the world because everything's just a mess. And it's just a random accident, mutation. It's just, but that's not the truth. The truth is that we are a teleologically striving mind, and our telos is to maximize the quality of life of every individual. Well, we need to become conscious of that telos and make that our telos. Telos means purpose, by the way. We need to make that our purpose, maximizing the quality of life for every individual and the collective. But anyways, we are not just a blind mechanistic reality that's acting and operating in random ways. This is a teleologically, purposefully directed process, and human beings are an extension of the evolution of the universe coming to know itself. And it's up to us what happens right now. What happens right now, we're not watching it being like, oh, I wonder what happens right now is up to us. Whether it's the collapse of modern society and possible extinction, the development into a slave framework, or the creation of a new Earth and a united planetary civilization. It's up to us. And so the idea here that, you know, anti-natalism, like I said, it's a lot of it's really predicated on atheistic, materialistic sort of thinking. And so I just want to be clear about that, because some people ask like, oh, what do you think about this? No, I am not a proponent of it at all. It's the complete opposite. You should have kids if you want to have kids. I'm not saying like, oh, everyone out there should have kids. Have kids if you want to have kids. It's up to you. But it's not wrong. It's not immoral. We are here to transform the world, change the world, shape the world, create the world in our image. And what it means to create the world in our image means to create the world in the image of God, because we are God. So when we create the world in the image of God, we are creating the world in our image, because we are the absolute, we are the universe manifest. And so as we create the world in our image, we are creating the world around our collective consciousness and manifesting the earth in a interconnected way. We are an interconnected system. That's what we are. We are an interconnected, united system. So to create the earth in our image means to create an interconnected and united earth. That's what that means. And that is how we will create the kingdom of heaven on earth, right here, right now. Our kingdom, our will be done. So remember, it can look bleak. There's a lot of crazy things happening in the world right now that can be very disheartening, but we have the power to change it. We have the power to make a difference. We're all on a collective journey of personal growth and collective growth. So let's create the new beginning. That's what being Neogenian is all about. So I hope you enjoyed this video, my friends. I have a lot more. Please like and subscribe. It helps. It helps spread this information around. Like I said, it's important. So please, take a second to do that. If you enjoy my work, consider supporting over on Patreon. It helps out a lot. Patreon.com/MorgueOfficial. You'll get access to all of our members only videos. There's a new members only video every single week. Or you can support on YouTube at tier 2 or higher to get the same thing by hitting the join button right below this video. I really appreciate it. New book series coming very soon. Keep an eye out for information about this book series that I will be releasing. You can find me on Spotify now. Look up Dawn of the New Earth. Follow me over there. And as always, hey, remember, this isn't church, so don't feel pressured to support monetarily. You don't have to. There are plenty of free ways you can support, like liking, subscribing, following on Spotify, things like that. That helps out a lot. Share this information. Tell friends and family about it. That's all great ways to help out. I do want to shout out those who support. Means a lot. Thank you all so much. Big shout out, especially to Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Angela, the Halloween Mom, DB, Fashida, Enki, Nusalina, Masam, Eric Fire, Christopher Smith, The Eternal Empire, and everyone else. Thank you very much.